Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Champions video. Yesterday we talked about the Rocket Raccoon deck from Galaxy's Most Wanted. Today we're going to be talking about the Groot deck. Again, these spoilers came from Step Into the Portal. They did a huge live stream talking about all the cards. They played through the campaign. Again, there'll be a link in the description to check that out. Some of these also came from the Hall of Heroes. So again, links in there to check out the live stream from Step Into the Portal, as well as the Hall of Heroes site as well. And didn't wear this yesterday, but felt it was appropriate today to wear this shirt here. So one of my favorite shirts, bought back in 2014 when the first movie came out. It was a T-Fury shirt, only available for one day, I believe. They may have re-released it at some point. But Rocket and Groot as Han and Chewbacca. So as the iconic pose from both Han and Chewie. So I'm going to be wearing this shirt while I discuss the cards in Groot's deck here. So this is the card I believe it was initially revealed from Fantasy Flight. This is Groot's alter ego. So Groot, 4 recovery. He's an outlaw. Hand size is 6 with 10 hit points. And has the growth spurt action. Place 2 growth counters on Groot to a maximum of 10. Limit once per round. So Groot is going to be doing a bunch of stuff that will allow him to spend these growth tokens to do different things, like augment his attack or allow him to, absorb damage and so on. They do a bunch of different stuff. So he has, again, 10 hit points, and he has this thing with the growth counters, and as his growth spurt action, he can basically be in alter ego form and place 2 of these on him if he decides to flip back over from hero mode to recover. Or also, basically, first thing you do if you're playing as Groot, he's going to be on alter ego form anyway. You can then just, place 2 growth counters, and you have 2 counters ready to go. You can only do it once per round, though, so you can't do it multiple times. So, basically, if you start the game with this, you're going to have 2 growth counters on him right to start. So, that is Groot. We're going to move into the hero form of Groot, and then we're going to move into all the cool cards that were revealed for him on this live stream. We'll be right back with that. And here we are with hero form Groot. So Groot, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense. He's a guardian. With the Flora Colossus interrupt, when Groot would take any amount of damage, remove that many growth counters from him. For each growth counter removed this way, prevent 1 of that damage. So basically, when he take any amount, you get to remove that many counters to block that much damage. So he's also got a defense of 3, so that is pretty strong. So let's say he's taking 4 damage. He can defend for 3, remove 1 of them with a growth counter, or a growth counter. Remove that to block additional damage. I don't think it's a may. I think so. Basically, whenever he's taking damage, he's going to have to be spending these growth counters if he has them. It looks like. So again, when he would take any amount of damage, remove that many growth counters. So it doesn't look like it's optional. So you're definitely going to want to keep the growth counters on him. Keep as many on him as possible. Again, you can have up to 10 on him at 10 of those counters at a time. But a 3 defense is pretty strong. 2 attack is pretty good. He's not going to be so great at thwart, but if you're playing him with Rocket, Rocket has the higher thwart while Groot has the higher attack. So Rocket with the 2 thwart to Groot's 1, but then also for attack, Groot has 2 to Rocket's 1. So they kind of mirror each other in those regards. And then again, hand size goes down to 10 or 5 with 5 hand size with 10 hit points. So that is the hero form of Groot. We're now going to start moving into all the other cards. We'll be right back with them. Alright, first up we have Flora and Fauna. It's a 1-cost event. This is the team-up card. So we've seen these in the other decks as well, where if you control both of the characters on the card, you get to do some cool stuff. So team up Groot and Rocket, 1 per deck. Again, works if you're even not playing with that other hero, because each of these heroes will have their counterpart in their deck. So Rocket has a Groot card in his deck, and Groot will have a Rocket card in his deck as an ally. So team up for them, max 1 per deck. Hero action, place 2 growth counters on Groot to a max of 10 and ready him, or place 2 charge counters on a Rocket Raccoon upgrade in play and ready that upgrade. So basically gives Groot some growth counters, or if you have those cool weapons we talked about yesterday with Rocket, you can then basically add more counters to those to kind of extend the use of those weapons, like the rocket launcher and like the hand cannon and so on. So that is Flora and Fauna. We're going to move, or I guess it also generates a wild resource when you discard it. Don't know if I mentioned that. But yeah, if you discard it, you get a wild resource. So that is Flora and Fauna. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Fruition. It's a zero cost event. Generates a mental resource when you discard it. It's a superpower. As an action, place 2 growth counters on Groot to a max of 10. Pretty simple. Basically, zero cost. Give him 2 growth counters. He's doing a lot of stuff with these growth counters. He's going to be adding them to himself, taking them off to do all kinds of stuff. This is just a cool, basically free way to get growth counters on him. You get 2 zero resources, which is pretty good, and that keeps his growth counters kind of fueled up and ready to go. So that is Fruition. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Lashing Vines. 1 cost upgrade. It generates a energy resource when you discard it. It's a superpower, and it's a hero response. After Groot uses a basic power, so it's attack, thwart, or defense. Remove 2 growth counters from him. Exhaust Lashing Vines to ready Groot. So let's him get. Let's see. He's thwarting. He can thwart. Remove 2 growth counters. After that, you basically are going to exhaust this to ready Groot. Attacks, he can do the same thing. Remove 2 growth counters to and then exhaust this to ready Groot. Or if he defends, it says uses a basic power, so he can use his defense. And then if he has enough growth counters left, he can pay 2 growth counters to ready him after defending as well. So he can defend, and then if you have enough growth counters, you can use this to ready him so he's ready to go and be able to attack and thwart in the next round and not be exhausted from defending. So pretty strong. 1 cost upgrade, pretty good there. And then a really good way, if you have like enough growth counters, a good way to just ready him and you get multiple uses out of him depending on what you need it, whether it be thwart, attack, or defense. So that is Lashing Vines. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Vine Shield. 1 cost upgrade. It generates a physical resource when you discard it. It's also a superpower. Hero Interrupt. When Groot defends against an attack, remove a growth counter from him and exhaust Vine Shield. Groot gets +3 defense for that attack. So he's already got a defense of 3. This brings his defense up to 6 at the cost of just 1 growth counter. So that is pretty strong, especially if he's defending against like a huge attack. This is a good way to basically prevent maybe potentially all of that damage. And it just costs 1 growth counter. Again, if you combo that with Lashing Vines, you could basically use this to defend, get that +3 bonus from defending on top of his 3, so defend for 6 basically, and then use Lashing Vines, remove 2 more growth counters, and then have Groot ready to go. So that is the Vine Shield. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Entangling Vines. 1 cost upgrade. Generates a mental resource when you discard it. It's another superpower. As a hero interrupt, when he makes a basic thwart, remove 1 growth counter from him and exhaust Entangling Vines. Groot gets +2 thwart for that use of thwart. So he's a thwart of 1. So basically, if you have Entangling Vines, you make a basic thwart. He's going to thwart 1 naturally with his ability or his base stats, and then you can remove a growth counter on top of that to make it a thwart of 3. So that is a pretty good way to get rid of quite a bit of threat with basically for essentially just exhausting and getting rid of a growth counter. So get rid of threat there. Also combos very well with, again, the other vines where you can basically ready him. So basically, he's going to have a lot of ways to, looks like he can attack, increase his attack, and then also ready himself with some other upgrades. So this is Entangling Vines. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Vine Spikes. 1 cost upgrade. Generates a physical resource when you discard it. It's another superpower. And as a hero interrupt, when he makes a basic attack, remove a growth counter from him, exhaust Vine Spikes, he gets +2 for the attack. So he's got an attack of 2 already. This will allow you to basically attack for 3. So yeah, remove a growth counter, or he gets +2, so it'll be actually an attack of 4. So that is pretty strong there. And he's kind of pretty well balanced between attack and thwart, it looks like. So he's got ways to increase thwart with the Entangling Vines. We have the Vine Spikes, which will increase his attack, at least for that particular use. So that is very important to why you want to keep growth counters on him, so you can basically fully maximize all of his abilities and attacks. So this will allow you to get more attack. As long as you have growth counters, you can then use it to do additional thwart. He sounds like he seems like he's going to be a very well balanced character, at least so far. So again, that is the Vine Spikes. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Fertile Ground. It's a one cost support. It's a location. It's an alter ego action, so you only use it when you're in the alter ego form of Groot. It's a location. Again, alter ego action, exhaust Fertile Ground, place one growth counter on Groot to a max of 10, and draw a card. So allow you to get some of those growth counters back, or even if it's in your first round, you can use his ability to get two, play Fertile Ground, exhaust it to gain one more, and then also draw a card on top of it. So nice way for him to kind of like take a break from the battle, looks like, or before the battle even starts, and then to get more growth counters on him. So that is Fertile Ground, fairly straightforward, but it also is cool because it actually has card draw as well. So that's Fertile Ground, and we're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have I Am Groot. There's a couple cards with the I Am Groot name in the deck, but this is the one where it's each one is spelled differently. So it's like this is him when he's angry and attacking. There's another one where it's spelled out a little bit differently. There's like no punctuation between each word, but it's an attack and a superpower. 2 cost event generates a physical resource when you discard it, and as a hero action, as an attack, deal damage to an enemy equal to the number of growth counters on Groot. So if he's got a ton of growth counters on him, you just keep stacking those up. Let's say you even have this could potentially do 10 damage if you have him completely maxed out on his growth counters. I don't know how often that's going to happen where you're going to have all 10 on him, but imagine just how much that could like swing a game where you're doing one basic attack for 2 resources to deal 10 damage. Again, you're probably not going to be in a situation where you have all 10 on him, but just the potential to do a bunch of damage with this is pretty cool. So that is I Am Groot. We're going to move into our next card. And here we are with another version of I Am Groot. No punctuation and it's not all capitalized. So 3 cost event generates a mental resource when you discard it. It's a superpower and a thwart. And as a hero action, thwart remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of growth counters on Groot. So again, just like with the other I Am Groot card, depending on what you want to do, if you want to attack, you use the first one. If you want to get a lot of threat removed, you can use this one, and you're removing that much threat equal to the number of counters on him. So you probably want to do it before you remove any counters for any other kind of thing, depending on what you need to do. So do this first, or do the other one first for attacks, and then go about removing counters for your other effects. But could be a potential way to just remove a lot of threat in kind of like one shot. 3 resources, so kind of high, but the potential here, again, let's say you're playing in a 4-player game and there's like more than 10 threat on a scheme. If he's maxed out again with his growth counters, that's where you're removing 10 threat. Again, you're probably not going to be in a situation where you have it maxed out, but let's say you have 4 growth counters, that's still removing 4 threat. That's quite a bit of threat removed. So that is another really good card for his deck. So that is I Am Groot. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Root Stomp. 2 cost event generates a physical resource when you discard it. It's a little bit blurry from the stream, but looks like it's an attack and a superpower. Hero action, looks like attack. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. If that attack defeats that enemy, place 1 growth counter on Groot to a maximum of 10. So 2 cost card to deal 5 damage, or deal 5 damage to an enemy. If you defeat the enemy, you get another growth counter. So that is pretty good, especially since you're being able to do 5. You're probably going to be able to defeat almost any minion with this, or quite a few of them. And so you can get rid of that minion and then add another growth counter to Groot. And or also just 5 damage for 2 is also really good. But of course you want to use it to something where you're going to defeat an enemy, because then you get another growth counter. So that is Root Stomp. We're going to move into our next card. And next up we have We Are Groot. 1 cost event. Generates a mental resource when you discard it. It's another superpower for him. It's a hero action. Remove up to 4 growth counters from Groot. Choose that many friendly characters. Give each of those characters a tough status card. So I believe, I'm not sure if they did this in the comics or not, but it's probably from the movie where he basically surrounds everybody and protects everybody at like his own detriment. Even though, of course, spoilers, they get him back with Baby Groot. But basically he kind of explodes basically shields them, so when they crash back to Earth, they're protected. But so you can remove up to 4 growth counters, and then for each growth counter removed, you choose a friendly character, and they get a tough status card. So basically, it blocks 1 attack, basically. So tough, unless something has like piercing or something like that. But gives them a tough status card, which is pretty strong. And then it says it's for just friendly characters. It looks like you can do it to in a 4-player game. Let's say you're just playing a 4-player game. Each character or each player can get a tough status on their main hero, or you can get tough statuses on your allies as well. So really strong card. 1 cost, pretty good. You do need to remove growth counters to do it. So that's kind of like the alternate cost on the card aside from the resource cost. But giving up to 4 characters, or 4 friendly characters, a tough status card is pretty strong. So that is We Are Groot. We're going to move into our next card. And here we are. We're back with Rocket Raccoon, so the allied version of Rocket. 3 resources. Generates a wild resource if you discard it. Comes in with 3 hit points. 2 thwart, 1 attack with 1 incidental damage each. Again, 3 health. Play only if your identity has the Guardian trait. And as an interrupt, when Rocket Raccoon attacks a minion, he gets +3 for the attack, and that attack gains overkill. So basically, let's see, he's going to attack for 1. If he attacks a minion, his attack is 4, and then it's going to have overkill. So if he attacks a minion that costs 2, it's going to splash 2 damage over to something else. So he can basically do his abilities 3 times if he doesn't defend any attacks or anything like that. So again, 2 thwart for 1 incidental damage, or 1 attack for 1 incidental damage, and then the +3 bonus for attacking if you're attacking minions. So he's definitely going to be stronger against minions, because you could even go up against a potentially weak minion, get that attack bonus, and then also still hit the villain because you have the overkill part of that attack. So that is the ally version of Rocket Raccoon. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Hard to Ignore. 1 cost upgrade, generates a physical resource when you discard it. It's a skill. As a hero response, after your hero defends against an attack and takes no damage, exhaust Hard to Ignore to remove 1 threat from the main scheme. So Groot has a defense of 3, so it's very possible if he does defend, he may not be taking any damage. This will allow you to exhaust this to get rid of additional threat on the main scheme. And then if you're using this in conjunction with something like the Vine Shield, he's going to have even a better chance of taking no damage, and then you're pretty much guaranteed to take no damage from that attack. So then you get the bonus from Hard to Ignore to remove that threat as well. So again, after they take an attack takes no damage, exhaust it, remove a threat from the main scheme. Yep. So that could be potentially strong. You're going to be able to prevent damage, block damage. You take none of it, no damage. You get to then remove threat as well. So that is pretty good. So that's Hard to Ignore. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Starhawk. 2 cost ally. Comes in with 3 hit points. Generates a physical resource if you discard it. 1 thwart for 1 incidental damage. 2 attack for 2 incidental damage. He's Aerial and the Guardian. And interrupt, when Starhawk takes damage exactly equal to his remaining hit points, return them to your hand. So that is pretty good. So he's going to come in with, let's say he comes in with 3. Let's say you do an attack for 2. He's down to 1. And then there's a card that says each hero gets pinged by 1 damage. He's taking 1 damage, which is the exact amount left over. You then get to return him to your hand, play him later, or play him again. So he could be potentially strong. I especially like the fact that you get to return him to your hand and then potentially recur him later, and then attack for 2. Let's say he takes another 1 damage exactly, return it to your hand, and keep playing him and get a good amount of attack in, or potentially even thwart. So if you thwart for 1, let's say you thwart again on another turn, and then you take that 1 damage to make it exactly 1, he goes back to your hand. Or if you thwart for 1, he's got 2 health left, and he takes 2 damage, you get to also return it to your hand then as well. So that is Starhawk. Starhawk seems pretty interesting. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Dauntless. 1 cost upgrade. Generates an energy resource when you discard it. It's a condition. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. And while your hero's remaining hit points are equal to or greater than your hero's starting hit points, your hero gains Retaliate 1. So if your hero hasn't taken any damage, let's say your hero starts with 10 hit points and he has 10 or more hit points, he's going to get Retaliate. So I can see this. It's got Iron Man on the card there. I know there's Iron Man or cards in Iron Man's deck that actually increase his health above his starting health. Like his starting health is actually fairly low, but I can see this working well in a protection Iron Man deck. I mean, Iron Man's on the art as well, but he does have card ways to basically increase his health above what his starting health would be to begin with. And again, with if you have this card in your opening hand, if you play it right away before you've taken any damage, even if you're at your starting total, because it says equal to or greater than your starting total, you get to have Retaliate 1. So at some point in the game, though, your health is probably going to drop below that, and then that card you would be able to like discard it or get rid of it, and then if your health goes back up, it'll come back online. So that is Dauntless. We're going to move into our next card. And the final card we're going to look at today is Depth Focus. One cost upgrade. Generates an energy resource if you discard it. Max one per player. As a hero action, exhaust Daft Focus to reduce the resource cost of the next superpower card you play this turn by one. This could be really, really strong. So I'm thinking more along the lines of like a Quicksilver deck. If you include this with Quicksilver, it's a gray. It can go into any deck. Essentially, it means at least once per turn, if you have Always Be Running in your hand, it's going to be a free Always Be Running because you basically exhaust it, reduce the cost of Always Be Running from 1 to 0, and then you're good to go. So probably potentially works very well in many decks. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets included in just a ton of different decks just to save that one extra resource. Because one extra resource, it might not be sound like it's a lot, but let's say you have enough cards in your hand that you need just that one extra resource to do a huge turn and you just don't have it. That focus then is going to be able to give you that. The cool thing with it, it's an upgrade, so every turn you're getting to use it. Every turn you're going to basically be able to exhaust it to generate that resource to use it on a superpower card that turn. So a one cost upgrade that gives you one permanent resource is huge, I think. So and that is Depth Focus. That is our last card for this video. Again, check the links in the description to check out the stream and the Hall of Heroes website. The stream from Step Into the Portal. They did a great video breaking down all the cards and then actually play through the campaign as well. I didn't want to spoil myself, so I didn't watch through the campaign and how that plays. I'm probably going to play through the campaign once the set comes out. I believe it comes out on April 2nd, so not this coming Friday, but the Friday after. I definitely look forward to getting it. I'm definitely going to need to get more sleeves because it's like over 200 more cards that are being added to the game. I think it's definitely well over 200. But really looking forward to it because it's going to be the lead-in to the Guardians of the Galaxy, other Guardians of the Galaxy characters. So we get Rocket and Groot in this set, and then in the months to come, we get Star-Lord, Gamora, and Drax. I'm really hoping, I don't know if there is, but it would be really cool if there was a way to increase the player count, at least in this campaign, to 5, even though games would take a lot longer, because then you would be able to have all the Guardians characters that are announced being able to be played. So you have Rocket and Groot in this set, so that's 2. You have Star-Lord, Gamora, and Drax, and I don't know if they're going to be doing Mantis. Mantis is maybe a card coming up. Mantis, I would think, is probably more likely just to be an ally, but if you were to bring up the game to 5 players, you can run an entire Guardians of the Galaxy team, basically, with each player taking on a different member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Just kind of like maybe wishful thinking, but it would be really cool to see if they actually did that. Again, that's going to do it for this video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back again once more cards get revealed or more new characters are announced. That's going to do it for now. Again, thanks again for watching, and take care.